too many characters, too many subplots, too many villains. One villain in this movie, I was like, why would you do that with this character? I'm like, it disrespected me so much as a Spider-Man fan, as a comic book fan, as a movie fan in general, and I just hated what they did with this Spider-Man movie. Like, as Peter Parker in this movie and MJ, I'm like, their relationship, what? It just felt forced. It didn't feel natural at all. Guys, Spider-Man 3 is still the worst Spider-Man movie ever. I mean, the emo dance. Let's talk about a better Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home, it is the 23rd film in the MCU, and it is the 8th Spider-Man movie. 8 Spider-Man movies that we have. Wow, that is a lot of Spider-Man movies that we had over the years. Over the past 20 years, we've had Spider-Man movies. And, of course, in this movie, take place right after the events of Endgame. Everybody's pretty much affected by the events of that movie. Tony Stark is dead. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Endgame yet, which I'm pretty sure all you guys had. This is how much money that movie has made for the past 2 months. And Peter Parker is deeply affected by the death of Tony Stark, and in this movie he's on a Euro trip with his friends and teachers from Midtown High School. While he's on a trip, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. come in, and Quentin Beck / Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is interrupting his vacay in Europe while there's so many monsters and Spider-Man having to stop them, and pretty much everything you wanted in a Spider-Man movie. I am going to be very vague in this movie because 1, I saw this movie early, 2, this movie doesn't come out till next Tuesday, and 3, there are a lot of stuff that happened in this movie that I want to save for a spoiler video that I might do in the future. So I will do a spoiler review maybe for Spider-Man Far From Home because there's a lot of stuff I do want to talk about that I can't say in this review because it'll be a spoiler fest. But all I gotta say is this. Spider-Man Far From Home, and I'm gonna probably gonna sound like a broken record for each of these Spider-Man movies, because ever since Homecoming, Spider-Verse, and now this, I have been saying that Spider-Man, whatever, is the best Spider-Man movie to date. But as of right now, Spider-Man Far From Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie to date. And I'm not just fanboying because Spider-Man is a personal character to me, and I've grown up with this character ever since I first saw the Raimi film when I was just a wee little lad, and read comic books, watched the cartoons, and just have a personal connection with Peter Parker / Spider-Man since he reminds me so much of myself, because I am very much like Peter Parker, and especially in this movie. Wow, there are so many things in this movie that Peter Parker does that relate so much to me. You have to admit that the first act of this movie, I didn't know where the movie was going in the first act. I mean, there was a lot of jokes and the high school stuff. I mean, yeah, what you expect from a Spider-Man movie. But as the movie went on, at the end of the first act, through the second act, through the third act, and when the movie was over, I was hooked throughout the entire film. This movie was a roller coaster. Like, literally, if you think you're done with the MCU after Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home has a lot in store for you. Because really, this movie tripped me up so much. Even much more than Doctor Strange. Because Doctor Strange had a lot of trippy stuff in that movie. But this movie, like, my mind was blown away by the stuff that happened in this movie that I do not want to say at all, but in my spoiler review, we will talk about that. And it is awesome. Peter Parker / Spider-Man is, once again, perfectly portrayed by Tom Holland. Tom Holland is, without a doubt, the best portrayal of Spider-Man on the film. I know a lot of you are going to say, well, Tom McGuire, the best Spider-Man. No. Watch this movie whenever you get a chance to watch this movie and tell me that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. I mean, this dude captures the awkwardness and the nerdiness and just the youthful nature of Peter Parker in this movie. And he captured the nature of a Spider-Man in this movie as well. And this movie, as a matter of fact, perfectly portrays the lore of Spider-Man, of that Peter Parker had to live a double life of having a normal life, spending time with his friends and MJ, while at the same time he is New York friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He had to balance both lives, and this movie definitely explores that, and how while he's on his European trip, while he's trying to confess his love to MJ, hang out with his friends, and also too at the same time he had to fight these bad guys during that, and he is trying to figure out a way on how to balance the two, and how he is trying to live a normal life while at the same time he had to live a life as a superhero, because he has these powers. He has this gift of course, crawls up walls, web slinging, and he has to do that while none of his friends or MJ finds out his secret that he is in fact Spider-Man. And that's what I love about this movie, and I think that it really definitely out of all the Spider-Man movies that we've had, I think the closest that comes to this is maybe Spider-Man 2, on how he had to live a double life and how he has to figure that out, and how how to have a job, how to get a girl, or how to manage school while he does all that stuff, and how he can do that stuff, and whatever he's done goes about his business and just helps save New York. But in this movie most of the time takes place in Europe, and how Europe is of course very big, very huge. They go to different parts in Europe, and I just love how that he is trying to just relax, hang out with his friends, but then all of a sudden Nick Fury comes in, give him this assignment, working with Quentin Beck / Mysterio, do all these crazy things as Spider-Man, while he just really wants to relax. And once again, this movie is like a comic book come to life, really. Endgame was definitely a comic book come to life. I don't think nothing would ever top that, but especially with a character like Spider-Man, and if you know the character, if you read comic books and watch the movies and cartoons or whatever knowledge that you have about Spider-Man, this movie definitely embraces on what Spider-Man is about. And to add more emotional weight and of a heavy burden to Peter, people are trying to figure out, after the death of Tony Stark, who will be the next Iron Man. And most people are thinking that Spider-Man should be the next Iron Man. And that adds more emotional weight to Peter in this movie, him giving over the death of Tony and that he is dead, and him being the next Iron Man to get it out of Tony's shadow, and him being Spider-Man, the person that he is meant to be. I actually really like Zendaya in this movie. I was one of those few people that didn't really feel her at all in Spider-Man Homecoming, but in this movie, I actually didn't mind her at all. I thought she was really great. I bought her relationship between her and Peter in this movie, and it was very much more believable than Tobey and Kirsten's relationship in the Raimi trilogy. But I still prefer Andrew and Emma's chemistry and relationship in the Amazing Spider-Man films, but this is actually pretty good. I buy their awkwardness, and I buy their relationship and their conversations as a movie that they had, and it felt real and natural. And for years and years and years, Mysterio has been a villain that I have been wanting to see on the big screen in a Spider-Man movie. Because, I mean, if we could have the Green Goblin, if we could have Doc Ock, if we could have the Lizard, Electro, Rhino, the Vulture, Shocker, Venom, unfortunately, we can have Mysterio. And finally, we have Mysterio in this movie, and he is done and played perfectly by Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh my god, was he good in this movie? I was not expecting him to be this good. Jake Gyllenhaal was perfect as Mysterio. And Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I read comic books with Mysterio in them, and they have been one of my favorites because the character is interesting. He has these amazing powers. He's an illusionist, and this movie definitely plays that very, 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 very well. And I just loved it. Jake Gyllenhaal has, without a doubt, one of the best Spider-Man villains and one of the best MCU villains that we have had. And the action scenes in this movie are spectacular, no pun intended. And the final act in this movie was just balls to the walls, amazing. Like, really. Go see this movie on the biggest screen. Go see this movie in IMAX, 3D, or whatever, however way you would like to experience this movie. Just go see it in that way. Cause this movie, I saw this movie in IMAX last night, and my God, Marvel movies are meant in IMAX. That's why I go see MCU movies in IMAX, because they are meant to see in that way. And this is definitely the movie for IMAX. Guys, enough said. And honestly, that's all I'm gonna say about Spider-Man Far From Home. It is the best Spider-Man movie to be had in the MCU. Into the Spider-Verse, I know some of you guys don't know my thoughts on Into the Spider-Verse, but that is my favorite Spider-Man movie. How that movie perfectly portrays what Spider-Man is about. This movie does, but Into the Spider-Verse, I think, did it a lot better. But this movie, as far as MCU goes, this definitely portrays Spider-Man perfectly and knows what Spider-Man is about and understands the lore, the character, and really, guys, go see Spider-Man Far From Home next Tuesday when it comes out. Go see it on the biggest screen you can. Just go see this movie in IMAX. Go see this movie in 3D. It is definitely worth your time. And if you're taking a break from the MCU after Endgame, give this movie a fair shot, because it was definitely needed after Endgame, after how... yes, this was definitely a movie I needed to watch after Endgame. And guys, that's all I'm gonna say about Spider-Man Far From Home, and I'm gonna give Spider-Man Far From Home an A. After my early screening of the movie, I actually bumped into a YouTuber that I like, and you guys may or may not know him, JVS. I bumped into him. He's a very cool dude. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely do so. This is a shout out for you, JVS, because you are awesome. I love your content. I love your videos. Everything you do, man, you are great. But thank you so much for watching, guys. And let me know if you're planning on seeing Spider-Man Far From Home in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you're new to my channel, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.